am so excited, boys and girls watching and boys and girls right here, about what we're going to talk today about in language development. Oh, look right up here. Do you see this map I have? Now, if you look very carefully, I'm going to use my pointer. If you look right here, this little part right here is the United States of America. That's where we live. Where we live right here in Pensacola is where the United States of America is. That's where we live. But today we're going to travel. We are going to pretend that we are going to travel. Now, we could go in an airplane, or we could go in a big ship to get to where we need to go today. We're going to travel all the way to a different part of our world, that God made. This part of the world is called Africa. Say that with me. Africa. Boys and girls that are watching, maybe you are watching from your home or your place where you live in Africa. How exciting to think that there's boys and girls watching in Africa. Wow. Boys and girls, we're going to talk about things that are in Africa today. Now, do you see this little girl right here? This beautiful little girl right here? She lives in a place called Kenya. Say that with me. Kenya. Maybe you're watching from Kenya today. Kenya, this little girl is wearing a dress that maybe you would see a little girl wearing in Kenya. And she's got a headdress on that you might see a little girl wearing in Kenya. Do you see what she's doing? She's not carrying bags of groceries. She went down to a market and she is carrying her food that she bought, her groceries, her vegetables on her head. That's what you might see if you go to Kenya. You might see little girls or mommies walking down the street carrying big bowls of food to their house. That's a little bit different than you might see here in the United States. Where we live, you would go to the store and get your groceries and bring them home in bags. But there in Kenya, in Africa, you might see a little girl or a mommy walking down the street. Maybe there are some boys too that might have to go to the store and carry their vegetables in a big bowl or a big basket and bring it home that way. Now, do you see this right here? It's called a grass hut. Say that with me. A grass hut. Now, some people in Africa live in a home that looks just like this. It's made of straw or grass, and it's made with wood and sticks and things like that they make, and they make it into a home that they live in, and it's called a grass hut. Some people live in a building, and some people live in an apartment or a house, but out in the jungles, that might be where you might see a grass hut. How neat. Wouldn't that be really neat to live in a grass hut right there? To be able to, it almost feel like you're camping. That's pretty neat. Now let me tell you about some other things you might see in Africa. We have been talking about the animals that came 2 by 2 on the ark. Well, after it rained and after it stopped raining, and then the animals came off the ark, they went all over the world. And I want to show you some animals that you might see in Africa. Oh, look, boys and girls, my favorite. This animal right here with his spots and his long neck is a what, William? Stan, tell me, it's a what?
A giraffe.
Yes, it's a giraffe. God made the giraffes with his long neck. And do you know that he likes to eat from the way top of the trees? And God made the giraffe fast. You would think with that long neck that he wouldn't be very fast, but he can get away from his enemies. Because now that the animals don't live in that beautiful garden anymore, now they're animals that want to eat the other animals. And so they like to get away from the other animals that try to eat them. So God made the giraffes really fast. And then look, what is that, class? An elephant. And when we think of an elephant, we think of our new letter E. And what does E say? Eh, eh, eh. And then look at this animal right here. This is the neatest animal. This is a camel. Say that with me. A camel. Now, camels are really neat. Camels have these humps on their back, and that's how you know it's a camel. And you know that where they are, they're like in the deserts of Africa, and it's really dry there, and there's not a lot of grass, and there's not a lot of water. So God made it so that the camel, when he does get to drink, he drinks a lot. Drinks. And then he can hold all that water so that when he's out in the desert, he doesn't need to take a lot of drink because there's not a lot of water out there. So that way he doesn't get sick. God made it so he could drink a lot of water and store it in his body so he doesn't get sick out there. And then look, I like the monkeys and the gorillas. There's gorillas with their long arms so they can go swing through the trees and they can live up in those trees and they can find their food like bananas and they like to eat bugs and all kinds of things. And then there's that lion that you might see. When God made the lion, the daddy lion has that big mane, that fur, and that tells other animals that he is the king of the jungle and that he is going to protect his family, the other lions. He is the lion daddy. And then there's the zebra. I always wonder, is a zebra white with black stripes or is it black with white stripes? I don't know. But when we get to heaven, we can ask God. But God made the zebra so special. It kind of looks like a horse. But horses, sometimes you see them and they're brown or they're black or they're white and brown. But the zebra is white and black, and he's fast too. Now, you can't ride a zebra like you can ride a horse because you know what? They're not really the kind you can ride, but they're really neat to look at. I like to look at the zebras. But these are all animals that you might find in Africa. What is the animal that has the big hump on its back? Kyla, what's it called? A what?
Camel.
Stand, tell me you're right.
Camel.
A camel. And what is the animal that has the big mane around him to let the other animals, he's going to protect his family, Carter?
A lion.
A lion. And today we didn't stay in the United States of America. We traveled all the way across the world to the other side. Where did we go, Angelina? To where?
Africa.
To Africa. And this little girl, I told you she lives in a special place in Africa called what, Johanna? Do you remember? See if you can remember. Think. Starts with a k sound.
A grass hut.
Oh, she could live in a grass hut called Kenya. Say Kenya.
Kenya.
Kenya. That is a place in Africa. Just like we live in Pensacola, and that's in Florida, and Florida is in the United States of America, Kenya is in Africa. And yes, sometimes some people do live in that grass hut. But these are some animals that you might see in Africa. And did you know that God made Africa? It is one of the largest land areas that God made. It's so neat to get to travel. I can't wait to learn in other lessons some other places in our world. There are boys and girls watching from all over our world. And I can't wait to find out where else we're going to get to travel.